even with all of the growth in e-commerce, we still see data that shows a majority of shopping is still done in person, even amid a global pandemic. Do you see there being a ceiling of sorts for how much shopping people are willing to do remotely? And have we essentially maxed out e-commerce right now?
I don't think so. I think that we've just shown how much further we can come. I mean, if you look at this year, again, e-commerce has gone from 14% of retail sales to almost 30%. And so what is happening is we're opening up all these new categories that people were really nervous about before, right? My mom was nervous to buy her blueberries online because she's like, they're going to come crushed. And then, she had to do that during COVID and is like, oh, I get it. And so I actually think there's still a lot more upside. And in what's been, I think, a tough year, for small businesses, one of the bright spots is that we have seen all of this messaging around shop local, now shop online, actually work. Like the smallest businesses in our portfolios, they're actually the ones that were up 150% over Black Friday, which I think is great news.
We are so lucky, if you can use that word, to be going through this at a time when we do have the benefit of e-commerce. We can buy things at the click of a button if we don't have the ability to go into the stores. But where do you see friction in this system? Where do you think the chain of command needs to get easier so that you do see that upside?
Yeah, I think that what we're seeing is actually innovation across the whole system. And so there's many companies that have made it easier to start e-commerce stores. So that's get early fulfillment, start sourcing products a lot easier. And then what Clearbancs have been able to do is we've been able to help a lot of scale up companies. So we've had more than 20,000 companies that are connected to our platform. We funded over 3,000 companies to date. And what we're seeing is the technology is improving at every single stage of this. And so I think there's still a lot of upside. I mean, the reality is if you look at Asia, I mean, people are still getting products faster, they're getting them cheaper, and the return process is a lot easier. And those are all the things that eventually build habits with us. And I think also a lot's been done so that people are not just reliant on Amazon or a single platform. They're actually willing to shop at a lot of these smaller, kind of more boutique or independent e-commerce stores because the checkout process has been a lot easier. So I think we're going to see a lot of innovation across that technology stack.
Michelle, as you mentioned, you guys helped to fund a lot of these companies as well as guide them in their path towards digitalization. Has the pricing of the investment opportunities gotten steeper? Are you finding it harder to find companies that you do want to invest in as well?
I think one of the things is that we use a really unique revenue share model, so we don't actually have to price the companies. In the market, though, there is more demand for these companies. I think one of the things we saw this week was, P&G, was trying to buy Billy. It looks like that deal is going to be challenged by the government. But I think what this means is that these direct-to-consumer brands are getting so big that the massive CPGs in many different categories are looking to make acquisitions here. So I think we're going to continue to see investment. We're going to continue to see more consumers, and I think investors will follow those two things as well.
A lot of consumers here in the U.S., Michelle, are getting news that perhaps their packages for Hanukkah or the Christmas holiday are not going to arrive on time as planned. How long do you think that leaves a bad taste in a consumer's mouth before they're willing to do this type of bulk shopping online going forward?
Yeah, I think it's a great question. I think actually consumers this year are going to be a little bit gentler and a little bit more kinder to businesses. 2020 has been a tough year for everyone. And I think especially when people are buying independent, they do understand that sometimes there are these delays that happen. I think, going forward, post-pandemic, I think a lot of these habits are going to be created and people are going to go back to needing, extremely rigid timelines on things. But I think generally this year, the reality is fewer of us are going to be traveling. And so more of us are going to be sending gifts. So, hopefully those gifts arrive on time. And we're obviously helping all of our companies to try and make sure they arrive on time. But I think, to be honest, this has been a tough year for everyone, including every single small businesses. And people are going to be a little bit more forgiving.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.